And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of World Talks here on TVP World, where every word matters. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and please join me and my guests on this next interview. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has made a surprise visit to Kyiv, pledging 650 million euros in military aid and reaffirming Germany's commitment as Ukraine's strongest European ally. Scholz's visit also highlights ongoing debates about Germany's role in the conflict, as Angela Merkel's new memoir revisits her controversial approach towards Russia during her tenure. Joining us today on TVP World to explore these developments is Andreas Umland, analyst at the Stockholm Center for Eastern European Studies from the Swedish Institute of International Affairs. Hello, sir, and welcome to TVP World.
Thanks for having me again.
So now there's two visits that I want to bundle together in this interview. First being that one of German Chancellor Olaf Scholz's visit to Ukraine, pledging another 650 million euros. Do you think that this reflects their long-term strategy in supporting Ukraine, and might that change with the new outlook with the upcoming U.S. administration and Zelensky's stance towards kind of ramping it down?
Certainly, Scholz's visit, surprise visit to Kyiv is only to be welcomed, and also the continuing support of Germany for Ukraine. But as many commentators have already pointed out, that it is this sum that Scholz announced here was already, in fact, approved earlier. It's not fresh money, so to say. It's just the next tranche of an earlier, basically decided help package for Ukraine. As it looks now, actually the national help from Germany to Ukraine will decrease in 2025. That has to do with the German budget and with the constitutional rules for debt that Germany can take, and there are limitations on the level of debt. And so Germany will cut its aid next year, according to current plans, and the justification for that is that that Ukraine will get money which is drawn from the frozen Russian funds, and these funds are then being used next year to supply Ukraine with funding, and that allegedly justifies that Ukraine can or that Germany can reduce its national help for Ukraine. Of course, Germany is also helping via the European Union and via other structures, but as it looks now, the direct budget support from Germany to Ukraine will decrease in 2025.
All right, and the other one what I want to get to is Merkel's current visit in the States, and perhaps going into a little bit of her legacy. Her memoir actually revisited her approach to Russia. Do you think that, how do you think that these reflections might shape the current German policy towards Ukraine?
There's a big discussion about these parts of her memoirs which are related to Ukraine, in particular to the Minsk negotiations, to the Bucharest summit of 2008, when Ukraine and Georgia got a membership perspective from NATO, and to the Nord Stream projects, where, especially for Nord Stream 2, Merkel has the main responsibility. And when Merkel was chancellor, she had actually not such a bad reputation here in Ukraine. I'm speaking from Kyiv. But now I think both in Germany and in Ukraine, she's viewed more and more critically, because she put a lot of effort when she was chancellor into, let's say, Russian-Ukrainian relations and into the negotiation of the Minsk agreements. She spent a lot of time and energy on that, but eventually all of this energy that she put into it didn't prevent the war, the escalation of the war in 2022, and the fundamental decisions that she took in Bucharest in 2008 or with the Nord Stream projects were wrong, and were actually preparing, in a way, this war and the escalation of the war. So I think historians will look on her chancellorship critically.
And last but not least, I would like to direct our attention also to a little bit of economic turmoil within Germany. The most migrant workers in Germany are on strike over labor tensions. Do you think that this kind of domestic unrest could also have a domino effect with industry around it that affect other countries? For example, Slovakia, whose economy on a very great extent does depend on not just Volkswagen, but also the German automotive industry.
I don't expect any larger repercussions from it, but we are now entering, indeed, in Germany, a fragile, I would call it, period. There are parliamentary elections in February, and most probably at some point afterwards there will be a change of government and a new coalition. And this is, of course, happening at an unfortunate period of time when things are escalating here in Ukraine, when the American leadership is changing, when we have escalations of tension in Georgia, in Syria, and so on. And we would need now actually a stable German leadership. Instead, we are now entering an electoral campaign, and after the elections, there will be then either longer or shorter negotiations for a new coalition. And so this all will debilitate Germany's ability to act and to be resolute on the international scene. And that comes, of course, at an unfortunate period.
Right, like I mentioned, all happening during the time, the snap election is approaching, so we'll have to see how that shapes up, but do show some warning signs indeed. Meanwhile, thank you so much for your input and insight. Really appreciate it, and thanks for being with us on TVP World.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for watching this edition of World Talks. Before more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.